And this will be sent out to everybody either later on this afternoon or tomorrow. So just keep an eye out for that. Attached to the recording will actually be a quick questionnaire. It should take you no more than 2 minutes. It's just a few questions. We appreciate your feedback and we want that feedback. So make sure that you're taking the time to do that, but absolutely can go back, reference what's going to be covered today in that recording. My name is RJ Panesi. I work here in Career and Professional Development on our employer relations side. I'm joined here by Kristen McKnight, who also works with me on our team. So welcome everybody. And from here, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pass it off to Carol. And then just one quick reminder, the chat is open. So feel free, if you do have questions, I know at the end we'll do some type of Q&A. Feel free to post those questions into the chat, or you can take yourself off mute and ask those questions. But from here, I'll pass it over to Carol.
All right, thanks, RJ. Welcome, everybody. Appreciate you taking time out today to join us. I'll keep this super casual. I'll talk about the National Security Agency, who we are, what we do, the types of positions that we have available, how you apply, how to go through the top secret security clearance, what the culture is like, and answer questions. So I have lots of time for questions. But again, like RJ said, if you want to unmute and ask as we're going through, I'm super open to keeping it flexible and very casual. So the National Security Agency is part of the Department of Defense and a member of the intelligence community. And there are 18 members of the intelligence community. So every single agency has their own little area of expertise, or we call mission. The NSA is tasked with SIGINT, which is signals intelligence. This is where we're collecting foreign electronic communication signals, breaking them down, and building intelligence reports. So our end product as a company are these intelligence reports that then go to our customers. So the customer could be the White House, it could be the Pentagon, it could be another agency, it could be a commander at a battlefield. So what we're doing is writing up simplified reports to answer someone's question. That's one half of it. The other half is our cyber mission or our cyber operation. And on this side, we're securing any and all US government communications so that foreign adversaries cannot do to us what we're trying to do to them. So it's a little bit of offense and defense. It's defending our nation and securing our future, as we like to say. So we're located at Fort Meade, Maryland, which is midway between Baltimore and Washington. And that's actually where our headquarters is. So most applicant processing will take place in Maryland, and we do pay for to go back and forth to go through the applicant process. We also have sites in the US. We're overseas as well, but the big sites in the US are Georgia, Texas, Hawaii, Utah, and Colorado. And then we have other sites. There's a smaller site in Alaska. But as an employee, you could have an opportunity to start at one of these sites, go overseas, go to Maryland, go to one of these other sites. So people spend their whole career moving around throughout the entire agency, if that's something that you're interested in doing. So what we're looking for this year, we have a huge hiring program. About 3,000 is what we're looking for. And when I say this year, our fiscal year is ending this month. So 23 is winding down at the end of September. We're already planning for fiscal year 24, and that's where we're looking for about 3,000 new hires. About 600 of those will be students. And I'll talk a little bit about our student programs as well. So those are paid summer internships for students. The career fields, and we were primarily a STEM agency, but we have something for almost all areas. So STEM-wise, computer science, engineering, math, probably employ more mathematicians than anybody in the US, quite possibly the world. Language, in the language area right now, we're looking for Russian, Farsi, and Chinese. Intelligence analysis, I mentioned that writing up those last reports, that's an intelligence analyst or an IA. And that would be someone with an international focus, maybe international affairs or international business, international relations, national security studies, Asian studies, all of those majors go into that career field. So those are some of the major career fields that we're looking for. Today, I believe there are 62 open positions online. So our website is intelligencecareers.gov/NSA. So www.intelligencecareers.gov/NSA. And that's where you'll see those listed. So of the 62 that are open today, I would say the majority are going to be in the STEM realm, but we have sign language, we have attorneys, we have psychologists. So it's really broad. So take a look, they're ever changing. I noticed today that intelligence analysis, language and business and security are not posted, but because we're getting ready to head out to be on campuses all over the country starting next week, a lot more ads will be posted soon. We hire people from high school level all the way through retired military and senior executives, maybe leaving a corporation and wanting to serve their country. So plenty of options no matter where you are in your program, in your career, in your life. So as I mentioned, high school work studies, freshmen, second semester freshman year and first semester sophomore year can apply for our cooperative education program or co-op. Those jobs are open right now through October 31st. Those you will alternate semesters. So go to school a semester, work at NSA a semester for your whole career of being a student. So you come out with 52 work weeks. Each time you come in, you do a different tour. And these are paid as well. So that's co-op. Summer internships. So those are open today through the 15th of September, or 15th of October, excuse me. And that's going to be closing at midnight Eastern time, October 15th. That's so people can get through the top secret security clearance by the time spring rolls around. And then they'll do 12 paid weeks of work next summer. So typically between May and August, 12 weeks. The jobs that are open today, there's a STEM Maryland, there's a non-STEM Maryland, and there's a field. So apply for more than one if you're eligible. If you're open to working in Utah or Texas and Maryland, apply for both the field and the Maryland. The more you apply for, the better chance you have for getting that match made. The summer programs are just a fantastic way to try out the agency. You have that top secret clearance, you come in, they make it very fun. You have an opportunity to do some tours, to interact with other students. So you might do a baseball game with CIA interns or DIA interns. You might tour the Pentagon or go to the sit room at the White House. You'll do some great tours at NSA. We do subsidize housing. So usually there are 4 students per apartment, and the agency helps with the rent. As I mentioned, they are paid internships, and you're doing real live work. You're not making copies and making copies. So if you have applied for, let's say, a data analytics or data science, you're going to be working with big data on a real live intelligence project. If you're applying for a Russian language position, you're going to work with the language in, top secret reports. So it's a great way to try out the agency. Most of our students, if it's based on performance, but most of our students will come out with a job offer for post-graduation. The one requirement for summer interns is you do need to be returning to school in the fall. So once that program is over, if you are graduating, you should apply today for a full-time position. You can apply up to a year in advance of coming to work. So if you're going to work May to August 2024, you need to go back to school fall 24. Okay, that makes sense? All right, so I'm going to look. There's a couple questions that I saw. Interns would be doing it a tour of the Situation Room. They're not going to work in the Situation Room. But once they become a full-time employee, yes, they can apply to go work at the White House. Having a top secret clearance will help with the application process. You do need to be a U.S. citizen at the time of application. If you have a top secret, put it on your resume, that can help out. NSA does not really have remote positions because we have to work in SCIFs due to the top secret. There are some areas, like I'm at home today, but I'm an outward facing working in recruitment. So I'm working in the unclassified environment. So I can go into the office, but I can do some things from home. So there are some positions that you can work from home. COVID did help us get into the unclassified world a little more so. So new employees, they come on, and early in those first 2 weeks of orientation, they do a few days at home to do all their training. And then all employees have annual training mandated by Congress. Those trainings we could do at home too. So depending upon the positions, you will have an opportunity to do a little bit at home. All right. Usually, application process in review since April, that's probably not unusual, but email me with your information and I will check. So I put in my contact information at the top. Reach out to me if you have questions or if you have an individual case that needs to be looked into. I can reach out to the recruitment team at headquarters to make sure somebody takes a look at your resume. Non-STEM, looking at cybersecurity, it just depends. If you have a certificate, then it doesn't matter what your degree's in. You would be considered for some cybersecurity roles based upon that certificate. When you go to look at those 62 jobs that are open today, when you click on the title of the job, it will give you real detailed. It'll open up to pages of information and give you a lot of detailed information. So there are some out there that when you click on it, it'll say other related majors may apply if you have, for example, 24 hours advanced math and computer science. So take a look at the roles and click on the job title. It'll give you a lot more information.
Carol, one question. Is there an age restriction as far as any of these positions?
No, there is not. Both CIA and FBI do have age restrictions. The NSA does not. Thanks. Good question. So the apartments are for students. We don't have anything for married students. They usually just go on the economy, or maybe your recruiter can put you in touch. We have an internal bulletin board system that employees might have a room for rent or something like that. So no, a partner cannot live with you in the student housing. And I honestly cannot tell you about taking anything in Puerto Rico. I'm not aware of any testing that we have there. Now, Utah, I came from the Utah office. We do all of our language testing in Utah for anybody that's in Utah. We do it in the National Guard building. So language, let me explain that a little bit. We use the DLPT, the Defense Language Proficiency Test, which is the military test of record. You can look at practice tests at peterson.com. So level 2 is passing. So if you come in, we'll get you tested. We'll either fly you to Maryland, or if you're in Utah, I mentioned, there could be some other sites that do their own testing. You will pass the test and that will begin the process. But if you don't pass the test, there are times throughout the year that we consider you for cross-training or for upskilling, enhancement type of training. So no matter where you are in your education process, depending upon your level of skill, we could find something for you in Russian, Farsi, and Chinese. Those are our big ones. We do pay relocation. So as an applicant, when you fly to Maryland for any of your applicant processing, we pay for that. And then we do pay relocation. If you're moving outside there's a mileage. It might be 75 miles. I'm not sure. That you'll have a relocation consulting and you'll get when you're hired. But we do pay relocation. It's 15,000 pounds, just like the military. You can choose to move yourself. You pay up front. We reimburse you for the U-Haul, for mileage, for meals, for hotels along, the route. Or you can have the moving van come and back you up. It just takes longer. So, all right. So let me keep going. Feel free to unmute yourself if there are questions. Yeah. So grad school, yes. We have summer interns for all levels, postdoc, and you can do multiple summers, specifically intelligence analysis, the installation and logistics, language. They encourage multiple summers, and you won't ever go back to the same office. We want you to have a different experience. So lots of different levels. Many people will enter a development program, which is a fabulous way to come in and discover a large agency. So if you come into a development program, these are structured programs. They're 3 years long. They will have rotational assignments. Again, you'll work in a different office each tour. Most of them are 6 to 9 months long. You'll have training. We have our own school, the National Cryptologic University. So some days, instead of going to your office, you'll just head to the school, take a class, or you could be at home taking a class. You have a first line supervisor, you'll have a mentor. So these 3-year-long programs, you're a permanent full-time hire, but you're in still more of a training mode. Great way to come in. You get to move around and do all these different tours and really get an understanding once you're in that cleared status of the mission in your particular career field. So it's a good way to come in. The application process. So I mentioned you're going to apply at intelligencecareers.gov/NSA. Apply for more than one position. If you are qualified for multiple positions, especially in the computer science and cyber realm, there are so many opportunities and so many options. Don't limit yourself to just one. So you apply online. You do need to be a citizen at the time of application. You're waiting for a match to be made with that resume. The staffing lead is looking, doing evaluations. They will reach out to you. If there's a match and there's interest, the first thing you're probably going to see is that HireVue email interview link. And I don't know if people are familiar with HireVue. It's an online, much like this, but it's a recorded interview. The questions are there, and then you record yourself responding to the questions. So it's a little unusual, a little difficult to get used to because you're talking to yourself and looking at yourself and answering these questions. It's not like you have that personal interaction with the interviewer and you're reading their face and expression. I always tell folks, go ahead and look at their advice videos on YouTube. It does not hurt to do some practice sessions. You can role play with somebody in career services or your roommate, or just practice. Dress for it. You want, a quiet place, look professional. There's a lot riding on that interview. So give it some thought. So once that HireVue interview goes forward and somebody reviews it and says, yes, let's go ahead and issue a conditional job offer, you would then be given a link to security forms or to get tested, depending upon your career field. Once you get those forms in, it's a big, lengthy security packet of forms online, but asking, every place you've traveled, your non-US citizen relationships, everyone you've lived, all your family. So it's a lot of data collecting. It can be overwhelming, but that's the only place that you actually have control in the application process. So the faster you get that in, the faster security says, yep, all clear, fly them out to Maryland for processing. This time of year, as I mentioned, we're going to be on campuses all over the country. So this is a really big time of year for people to be entering the applicant process. I did mention summers do get priority, so that's a little bit of a shorter process. You can apply up to a year in advance. 6 to 9 months is probably pretty common to get through the application. So when I'm on campus this week and next week, I'm looking for that spring grad. That's just perfect timing, right? So Apply now if you're graduating next year. So let's say you get through, you get your forms filled out, they're submitted, security says yes, you'll schedule yourself for your visit, fly to Maryland, it's a psych test, psychological interview based upon your test results, the polygraph exam, and then you fly back to school or home, whatever, and then they're going to be sending out background investigators to do that final background investigation. When this all comes together, it's evaluated, and your final job offer will come after that, if all that's positive. So for the forms and the application process, it's best to be open, honest, accurate, and consistent. So you don't want to reveal a little bit of information and then when you're questioned, add a little more detail, and then the polygraph have a whole new story. That's not going to be helpful to get that top secret security clearance. We're not looking for people to be perfect. We're looking for people that are honest and that have learned from life and mistakes and not repeating mistakes. So the drug questions, marijuana, it's 90 days. So at the time of application, you need to be free of marijuana usage for 90 days. Other drugs, it's a year. They do have arrest questions, financial questions, close continuing relationships with foreign nationals. So in that area, just read the questions carefully. When they say close and continuing, it's ties of kinship, affection, or financial obligation. So someone that you're in a relationship with, someone you're related to, someone you're in business with. If they are casual acquaintances, a Facebook friend that you studied abroad and once a year you send them an email, that's not close and continuing. So just read the forms carefully, be honest, consistent. Also watch social media. Just make sure that that's professional and passes the grandma test, I always say. So you want to be careful about that. So some of the best things about the agency, we do have all federal benefits. So that's a defined retirement plan, insurances, a 401k, but it's casual dress, flexible work schedules. I've been on teams where people come in at 5 or 6 a.m. and other people come in at 10 or 10:30. So it's 80 hours in a pay period, a 2-week period, and there are many flexible schedules within that. But as long as your supervisor approves your schedule, there's a ton of flexibility with that. You can earn comp time, credit hours, and overtime. So even though you're a salaried professional, those are some benefits. Great educational plans. So if you come in with a bachelor's and you want to go on to get your master's, if the classes are job related, we do pay for those. In my case, I came in with an undergrad degree in business, and then I went to Hopkins and the agency paid for my master's. Again, it's a course by course basis. And then as long as they have to be justified as job related. So as an HR professional, my business degree, they were able to pay for every class. And then we have some competitive programs. I did a scholarship that I applied for. I got 1 semester off with pay. So I was still earning my salary, but I didn't go to work. I just took more classes to finish up my degree. So they paid for classes, but I still got my salary. My teammates in Utah, we have a few people that are doing the 2020 program. And this, you get your full-time 40-hour paycheck, but you only come to work 20 hours. The other 20, you can be writing papers, attending classes, studying. So they're paying for tuition as well. So great educational benefits. And I mentioned we have our own school as well. So you can take classes there. It is accredited university and classes can be transferred. You don't take work home. So we have great work-life balance. I mentioned you're paid for anything over 40 hours. But we have work-life balance also because you're not taking any top secret home, right? Because you go to jail. So great work-life balance. Leave, I mentioned. We have annual leave, which is vacation. sick leave, we have paternity leave, so maternity leave, lots of generous vacation time. We also have civilian fitness leave. So full-timers get 3 hours per week to exercise. So that's our civilian fitness program. So that's a fabulous. And there's morale building. So teams can go to, in Utah, we would ski or mountain bike. So you get 12 hours a year to do team building with other employees. So lots of great things there. We have a huge diversity office for diversity and inclusion because, as you can imagine, we're solving problems each and every day. And you need a diverse mindset to come up with the best solutions in all these problems. And we have employee resource groups that you can be a part of and meet during the workday and do great events. Also, a lot of clubs, much like a large university. There's ski club and sailing club and book clubs and recreational sports. And so anything to meet other employees and do things together. I mentioned relocation. We have mentors. And let me get some other questions before. Or unmute yourself if you have questions that I've missed.
I have a question. This is Elisa.
Hi, Elisa.
Hi. I was a registered nurse before I dived into cybersecurity, and I had received a clearance to work at Fort Bliss. Is that something that expires? Is that something I can still put down on the resume to say, hey, I was cleared before? The mission.
Did you ever get sworn in with that clearance?
No, the mission
Okay.
ended right when I got it. It took a while to get.
Okay. They do expire. And if you haven't been sworn in, you haven't been cleared.
Okay, thank you.
So it could come up, in your interviews that, oh yeah, I've been through the clearance process before. And then they know, oh, she's likely to get cleared. But yeah, and they do expire.
Thank you.
But we pay for all that. We'll pay for the top secret clearance and the full background investigation.
Can you go a little bit more into the background investigation?
Sure. So the background, the basis is really starting from your forms. So they're going to ask for references and everywhere you've worked and moved and family members. But you'll know what's going on when your friends start saying, hey, there's someone knocking on the doors in my neighborhood with a badge asking about you. That's how you know your background's going on. So we have contract investigators through the Office of Personnel Management that do most of our backgrounds. So they will send people out. Let's say you are in San Diego, but you grew up in Minnesota and you did your undergrad in Connecticut. Okay, so they're going to have a different background investigator for each of those areas. And then it's all pulled together in one summary report that goes to our security office and it goes through final adjudication with all of this data. So you will be interviewed, as will your neighbors, maybe professors, roommates, employers, current employers, previous summer employers, people on campus. So it's all encompassing. Does that help?
Yeah. And what if you moved around quite a lot?
So the more information you can give them, it's helpful. And when it comes to travel, if you have traveled Europe, if you have another US citizen that can vouch for your whereabouts, or if you're going to be taking a trip, have somebody that can vouch for your whereabouts, keep good records everywhere you stayed, what days you traveled, what day you took a train from this country to this country. The more information you can provide to the background investigator is helpful. So if you moved a lot, it's just going to take longer. There'll be more people involved in covering that background. I think it's only the last till the age of 18 or the last 15 years, maybe. I could be wrong, but it's a period of time.
Okay, thank you.
So,
Carol, I have a
if you have
question.
a clearance through like the Navy Reserve, would you guys just take ownership of that?
No, we're going to redo it.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, we'll do the full scope poly. So let me go into that a minute. Full scope poly. So sometimes people will have a top secret without a full scope poly, and so there are lots of different kinds of top secret clearances. So for ours, the polygraph's divided into two parts, and there are suitability questions, and that goes into the arrest, the drugs, the bankruptcy, and then the espionage half. And the espionage half is going to be, are you getting this job because somebody's asked you from another, country for you to get this job, or do you want to overthrow the U.S. government? So that's a little bit about the poly.
I have a question about the head count. You said it was a head count of 3,000 right now that you're trying to
It's
fill?
a hiring goal to bring in 3,000 new employees. Yes.
Is that because people have left the agency or just because the demand for new employees has grown?
It's both. It's more for growth and demand. We have pretty low attrition. And we have historically, we were established in 1952, and we have, compared to outside HR attrition, we have very low attrition. But we also had our last big hiring years when we had a goal of 3,000, we're in 85, 86, 87. So all those folks are now retiring. So we have a lot of people that are retreating naturally, but also growth.
Okay. Thank you for that information.
Good question. Yes, thank you for asking.
Hello, I
Carol.
have questions. Oh,
Go
sorry.
ahead. Oh, go ahead. I'll go next.
Yeah, I have questions. I born overseas, but I become a citizen, and I used to work as interpreter over in Iraq, and where I'm originally from. Will that affect any of like the process of the applications? Also, I've been in the field for almost 10 years in network and security, and I do have a bunch of certificate, like over 5 certificate, like in the industry. So, do I apply for internship or full-time job? What is suitable?
You could do either. It just depends. If you're still a student
Yes, I
and you're
am.
going back to school in the fall, you could totally do the internship. Now, everybody must be in the US during the application process because recruiters cannot be processing people outside the US. But the fact that you are a US citizen is the only thing that's important. It could take longer if you have family members that are not US citizens. The application process could take longer, but you certainly could apply for summer. Now, summer is more difficult to get in if your background is more lengthy. So because there's such a strict timeline. So if somebody does not get into summer because we just can't get the clearance done in time, don't let that discourage you from applying for a full-time job, because full-time, we don't have the same tiny window.
I've been applied for many agencies, and to be honest with you, it's one of the reasons I get declined is like they said, like other background, and there's no more informations like we can investigate, like I know your previous lives back over there. So this is one of the main reason I get I get accepted for the job, but they said like it's up to the security clearance and an investigation background. They said your background in the US, it's perfect, nothing wrong, but we cannot verify what you were doing. I told them I used to work as interpreter with the US military, and that's how I got here. So, and that's how I become a citizen. So I got like an SIV, Special Immigration Program. That's how I got here, and I do have many recommendations from many generals and all those. And like I told you, this is one of big reasons like I got to the US. So how will like this will be processed? Is going to be an issue, or again, I will get declined and give up to like any opportunities like that?
So that's going to be security call, not my call. But
All right.
I have seen other people with similar stories get into the agency. So
All
don't
right.
be discouraged. Summer, I think, would be hard. Full-time, because there's not a tight timeline, is certainly an opportunity.
Yeah, like I told you, I've been in industry for like 10 years right now as a network administrator. My position right now is senior network admin plus security analyst. I do a lot of pen testing. I do a lot of vulnerabilities patching, vulnerabilities discovery, analysis, security analysis. Also, like I am Cisco certified. I do have CompTIA certified, ITIL, Linux
Okay.
certified.
That sounds absolutely like you're qualified, and I would encourage you to apply.
I already did apply for a couple of positions right now
Okay.
for the agency, but still I didn't hear back. So what is the time frame for that? It's like
Why
to
don't
hear back from them.
you email me? Do you see my email in there?
Yes, I did.
CSVU.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm planning
Email
after this
me.
meetings, I will
Yeah.
definitely email you.
Okay. Email me and I'll be glad to check it out.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Quick Carol, this is Jason.
Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. So my question is, what's the biggest thing a candidate can do to set themselves apart for a recruiter?
For us, a lot of it's the major. They do look at GPA. It's having the skills that we're interested in. If people have an internship or related experience, that's helpful. And then just getting through the clearance process.
Okay, thank you very much, Carol.
You're welcome.
Carol,
Yeah, I was kind of
quick
curious.
oh,
How does
quick-
military retirement, or how does like the time in the military work with the buyback of the NSA?
So it's called Post 56 Military Deposit. And once you come on board, we will help you send away to your military finance center with your DD-214s. They're going to tell us how much you earned during that period of time. And then you can do a per pay period deduction to buy those years back. So we have a retirement counselor that will assist you with that. And then what we'll do is, like, your starting date is going to be for retirement. We'll take your starting date with NSA and we'll subtract out if you bought 8 years, your retirement's going to be your starting date minus 8 years to calculate that 30 years of service for retirement.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey, Carol, just a quick question kind of with regards to security clearance. If we have loved ones, family members who live in foreign countries, for instance, I have a sister who moved to Israel about 20 years ago and started a family there. Do you see hurdles or any sort of obstacles with regards to the security clearance process?
I don't. They'll ask for information, address, and such, but it shouldn't stop you from being cleared.
Awesome. Thank you.
Does the
Any
person
positions currently available outside of the DC area, like Houston field office or any of these other field offices?
You'll see online, for example, when the language post, it's going to say Alaska, Hawaii, Georgia, Utah, Maryland. So there are some positions that are just posted for Maryland and Texas, or in Texas, we're in San Antonio. So when you click on where you see the job title, it'll tell you where the location is.
I had a quick question about the languages. Do you have any advice for people to acquire proficiency and experience in a language like Russian with no prior experience in it, besides like the traditional means like language classes? Would you recommend taking the D-Lab?
We will test folks for the D-Lab. And then if somebody's going into cross-training or enhancement. So coming in with the D-Lab, I don't think that's important. Languages, you need to have a learned language that you're qualified for already. So if we're going to cross-train you into Russian, you need to come in already with a passing score on the DLPT in Spanish or Arabic or something. So you do have to come in with some language expertise. I don't really, other than, I know people do classwork or apps, but for us, I don't have any other advice in that area.
For applications for the internship, do you require federal resumes or just a regular resume?
Oh, good question. Thank you for that. So our tool is more like a resume builder. So we don't use federal resumes, but it's a question format, and you're going to copy and paste kind of into that, into our resume tool. So we tell people, use your career services, use whatever, look at a resume from a career center, and use those standard resumes. For language and technical positions, this will give you, if you have a one-page resume, when you're doing the copy and paste and building a resume, you do have a little leeway to add. So each question you can add some other areas.
Awesome. Thank you.
Justin, you're welcome.
Oh, that was just me who asked the question.
Okay, great. Conrad.
Hello, ma'am. Good morning.
Hi.
Hi, quick question. Thank you so much for taking time. Now, in terms of the skill bridge, is it only accessible to the members with the top secret clearance?
We have a skill bridge point of contact at headquarters. I know the first phase, it's been a couple years since I've been in on the skill bridge. At the first, and we were having 3 phases. The first phase was we were only considering those with top secret. Because of the timing, we wouldn't get you cleared by the time you were finished. But you can call. There is a general phone number, which 866 and IC hires. It's on the webpage. And leave a message or speak with the person and ask for a skill bridge callback. And what they will do is forward it on to that office, and that office can get you in touch, or just reach out, send me an email, and I'll get you a skill bridge point of contact.
Thank you so much. And is there more demand for the linguists in Chinese and Russian, or cybersecurity experts?
I don't know exactly. I'm going to say cyber, only because there are so many cyber open positions. I think language is a more narrow focus. I don't have the numbers off the top of my head. I haven't seen next year's numbers. So there are some people that are able to apply for both. And that we have some really interesting, unique positions that language and technical can be used. So there's never not an exciting opportunity in the world of intelligence. And as I mentioned, you can move throughout your career to different positions. And so you're constantly learning, you're constantly being challenged, you're constantly teaming with intelligent people, and you're serving your country. There's just a lot of great things about the agency.
Thank you.
All right,
so
back to Conrad. I see your hand is up. Okay, Nikki.
Hi, thank you so much. And just not to respect everyone's time, could you briefly describe the timeline and the process for someone who's close to retiring, but not do the skill bridge, but traditional route to get hired directly? Would you mind to briefly describe that?
Yeah, so I think you can apply expect 6 to 9 months. I think in the military, they don't really want you to do it until 6 months by the time you put your notice in. So you're going to do the exact same application process as everybody else. So as early as you can apply, you're online waiting for the match. You're going to do the interview, the security forms, and a visit to Maryland. And then they finish up with a background investigation. So it can take up to a year. So we say you can apply up to a year before wanting to work. But in most cases, 6 to 9 months is a pretty good estimate.
Thank you so much. And just last question, I apologize. This is my first time using WebEx mobile version. I'm trying to locate your email so I could contact you so I don't take a lot of time from everyone else here.
It's in the comments, but it's C, S as in Sam, B as in boy, ULLO at uwe.nsa.gov.
Thank you so much.
Welcome. So if you don't get into a summer internship this year, yes, there always, as far as I know, will be more internships, always open 1 September through, it used to be 31 October. This year it's 15 October. And there are cyber internships. It's just you would apply for the STEM and then the field, because the cyber, you could be at one of our field sites or you could be in Maryland. And if you're open to any location, apply for both. Just gives you a better chance. Chris, if you haven't heard anything in 2 months, you need to email me and I'm happy to check that for you. Spring programs, we hire all throughout the year. So we always have a couple starting dates each and every month. But for summer, or for summer interns, it's only going to be May to August. We don't have anything in the spring. Co-ops, on the other hand, if you are a freshman or a sophomore and you're going to spend 5 years getting your undergrad instead of 4, you could have different semesters at headquarters or any of our sites. Remote and IT is, again, we're in a SCIF. It's top secret. Everybody's going to be in the office except for occasional classes or training. Our exams do expire. So the language tests, I think they're a year. So depending upon the test, they all do expire. So if you've applied and gone through the process in the past and you reapply, you're probably going to redo absolutely everything. For cybersecurity in the agency, ACE, I suggest going online, getting to our website. Under roles, you can click cyber and you will see the broad job descriptions for a ton of cyber opportunities. And then when you click on those, you'll get, as I mentioned, a very lengthy description. You'll get like what the qualifications are, but also a better description of what you would be doing in that particular area. And I think that might help you pick how you want to further your education and what you want to aim for. So I would check out the website. So recruiters are assigned once you go through the application process. After you get to a certain point, you have a recruiter that you will then be dealing with from that point forward. So we don't really have non-classified positions. I retired from the agency and I'm in this outreach position as a reemployed annuitant. So it's not like an area that we really hire for. So testing, data science has testing, math has testing, intelligence analysis has an online test, and language has testing. So you'll see in the breakout of descriptions if there are tests required. Physical ability requirement, no, only the police officers. We do have a police ad that is open today. NSA does have their own police force. There is an ad online and they do have a physical fitness test. Outside of that, people do not. If you're currently in the military and can do a DLPT, I would say yes, you can share that with your recruiter. And yes, clearances do expire. We no longer have a location in Washington. We used to be in Yakima, but we closed that site. Nikki, go ahead.
Thank you so much for getting back to me. I have a quick question. I think everyone will benefit from this one. For someone who is in a cyber field or language field, how often do you have to travel and what are some of the locations? I know you guys have 7 general locations you might have to go to, but how often do you have to locate? How much choice do you have? And which specific locations do we have for the linguists and cyber people?
So it's really employee driven. So it's going to depend upon your position and your areas of interest. Some people will do temporary travel. They might go to a conference. Let's say, I work in Maryland and every year there's a math conference in Atlanta. I might go to the conference for 5 or 7 days and then never travel again. I can do my whole career, 30 years at headquarters if I so choose. Or I might say, hey, I think I'd like to go work 3 years in Hawaii. Most of our positions are a 3-year rotation, some are 2, and you can extend in some of them a little bit longer. But it's voluntary. It's an internal application process. So it's not like we're tapping you and saying, hey, it's time for you to move on, unless you're at the higher levels. So everything else it's competitive internal vacancy system for onboard people. So people submit an application that says, I would like to go work in Germany for language. And then they'll interview a few of the most qualified candidates and then do a selection. So it's voluntary.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate you.
Sure. All right, so there are hundreds and hundreds of questions here. So feel free to credit score. They do check credit. Bankruptcies, filing for bankruptcy can be an area of concern only because of blackmailing. So that's why they do some security or some checks during the application process. But if you are on top of payments and have debt, that's okay. If you are in counseling for mental health issues, that's okay. Are you taking your medication? So as I said, we're not looking for perfection. If you are managing and adulting, that's good. And that's why they ask a lot of these questions. You actually have to be a citizen at the time of application. So legal permanent status, no.
Hey, Carol, I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
So if I served in the military for 10 years and my goal is to retire with the agency, I know you guys buy like the rest of my time or whatever. Can you talk more about that? Like I've heard there's a program where I pay a little bit of money and then they buy the rest of my 10 years to retire at NSA.
You're buying your years.
Yes,
right?
I'm
That's
buying
what I
my
was,
years.
yes. That's what I was explaining, the post-56 military deposit. So you send away to the Military Finance Center and the agency will help you with this. And you are given all of your amount that you earned. And then you have an interest-free 3-year period. And you're going to pay a percentage to buy those years. And it's all OPM guidance, Office of Personnel Management. So you can set up a payroll deduction when you're an employee and say, okay, $100 per paycheck is going on paying this, and you have 3 years interest free. So you do absolutely have to get that started as a new hire because you don't want to have to pay interest. But your HR rep, when you come on board, will help you out with that.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
I had a quick question.
Sure.
My question was, I saw it pop up a couple times in chat. I'm sorry if you've answered it already, but it was regards to the GPA requirements and how the pass-fail metrics at WGU are considered.
I have no idea how your pass-fail. I mean,
Basically,
3.0.
Yeah, if you pass a
3.0
class,
is
you get a
typically
3.0.
what folks, staffing leads, just because we'll have 10,000 active resumes at once. And if we're only able to hire 3,000, we need some measures, right? So 3.0 is typically a cutoff. So they'll ask for transcripts. So I would think the staffing person or your recruiter will take a look at that.
And Carol, I can speak on that just a little bit. So we do have pass-fail as far as our, what students are earning when they're going through their courses. The registrar's office, when they send out your official transcripts, you can also request, they have a separate document that explains our grading system and confirms it is equivalent to a 3.0.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
So business major in HR, absolutely. We hire business. There's nothing posted today, but there will be probably this month. Typically, there are some finance, a lot of accounting, HR, absolutely. We'll have corporate communications. So business, keep looking. Entry level on a GS scale, bachelor's degree with absolutely no experience is going to be a 7 with steps. We do have locality pay depending upon the area of the country, and we have accelerated pay scales for certain career fields to be more competitive with the STEM fields. So you'll see a range pretty quickly with that conditional job offer. So you have an idea. We have promotions that are competitive internally once you're on board, and have great promotion and long-term career outlook for folks.
Hey Carol, I just had a quick question for you.
Sure.
So I am a transfer to WGU right now. Would I also include the transcripts of my previous community college?
I would.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sure.
I had a quick question. Just what soft skills does the agency look for? Like, admire, like, prize in applicants.
Okay, so that's a very good question. I usually include that. Thank you for asking that. Critical thinking is huge. Problem solving, communication, teaming. I would say those are probably our biggest areas, not unlike any other employers looking for, I'm sure. So advice as you're applying, I know we're down to a couple minutes. Read the ad carefully and make sure you are qualified. Make sure your resumes have, demonstrated and some of those keywords that are in that ad. Use career services. Have your resume reviewed, practice interviews, think about transferable skills. If you've been working in something that's an unrelated field, there are certainly transferable skills, whether you were taking orders and managing food and working with teammates, communicating, all those. So take some time to practice your answers and think about that. And then research the company. I've interviewed people that said, I don't know anything about NSA. I thought this was NASA. So kind of do your homework. So I know we're down to 2 minutes and there are 200 questions. So feel free to follow up with me.
And for everybody, Carol did post her contact information in the chat. I'm going to actually post that again, so it's at the bottom of the chat. And just a reminder that this session was recorded, and this recording will be sent out to everybody. So make sure if you joined late, you want to go back and rewatch what we covered in the beginning. A lot of fantastic information. So make sure that you're going back and taking a look at that.
Okay, one final question if somebody wants to ask.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
So I just kind of have I guess a silly question, honestly. But as a civilian, I've always wondered what security measures are put in place so agents don't share top secret information. Or is that also classified?
Nope, it's primarily an oath of office. You take an oath of office, you sign security paperwork that says you will not release classified information, and you can be prosecuted and sent to jail. So we're trying to get people that are trustworthy and will withhold their obligations, and so we don't have to take them to court and send them to jail.
Thank you so much. I was just a little curious. I appreciate that.
Sure.
One last question.
I do want to.
Kind of curious. Oh, sorry.
Last question. Go for it.
I was curious that what are the family benefits? What do you have to offer for people who have dependents?
So family benefits, we just had a family day. Actually, I'll be in Utah in 2 weeks for family day. So everybody's children can come in and see the top secret world, which is kind of exciting. We have paternity and maternity leave, sick leave benefits that for, a well child checkup, you can use your sick leave. As I mentioned, clubs and activities. We have a work-life balance, a work-life services office that'll help you find daycare or providers for elder care or, all sorts of different events. So there are many. We have things to make your work day easier. So we have like a barber shop and drugstore and things to simplify your life that you can access on campus without having to leave in the evening, leave your family. So lots of great options. All right.
All right, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Carol, for jumping in and providing all this fantastic information. For anybody that missed it, Carol's contact information is in the chat, so you can go access that, reach out to her with any additional questions. But thank you, Carol, for taking the time today to jump in and talk with our populations.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, everyone, have a great rest of your Thursday.
You too.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thanks, RJ.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.